Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron with Aries Point Project, and I am here with Mila from Moonlight Soul. And we are going to be speaking again today, another Beyond Replication uh, episode. And today we'll be discussing Mars and the processes of this new Martian initiation into this world. So thanks for joining me, Mila. It's good to see you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And yeah, we're right on time with all this Aryan energy. Mercury is already there, and Mars is just about to move. So I can see that your background is very suited to the topic.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. All my senses have been coming online. And so the world is speaking to me quite literally through the sounds and the smells of the neighborhood. So I got my windows shut. I'm just in my own energy today. It's a hermetic cocoon. And that's what I feel like we're coming out of right now. Especially as you mentioned, we got Mercury coming into Aries on the shadow path, going direct now in the late degrees of Pisces, 29. Heading onto the 0 point will be conjunct Neptune, and the first planet to do so since Neptune has been in Aries. And what's your take with the Martian trine and what we're seeing with Mars heading into Leo tomorrow? How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, it's interesting because, of course, we had all these retrogrades, Mars, Venus, Mercury as the former rulers and the current rulers of the North and the South Node. And we know Mars is kind of connected to the North Node now because Neptune is in Aries. So everybody is connected by rulership somehow to where we were and where we're going. And with all these retrogrades that we had until recently, Venus was the last one to station direct. Everybody is still in their shadow, slowly but surely will be coming out of it at the beginning of May. Mercury already coming out of it on the 26th of April. And yeah, the perception of everything has changed because for Mercury and Venus, they've gone from Aries to Pisces to Aries. So it's the Alpha and Omega, the beginning, ending, and then new beginning. And for Mars, it was the Leo, Cancer, Leo. Tomorrow, Leo, not just yet. Still Mars on 29 degrees of Cancer as we're recording this. But it's that creativity, then dipping back into the former versions of ourselves to decide who we want to be going forward. And then we're going to create from that new perception, from that new point of view. So it's interesting that all the personal planets are having these very interesting retrogrades from fire to water, the spark of inspiration, the fire of creation back into water, the womb state, the intuition, the connection to the source, especially with the Pisces energies. And now they all going forward and will be moving out of shadow at the same time, whilst Neptune is in Aries. So that is not lost on me, all these new beginnings.
Yeah, that's well said. I know it's like this is the alchemy of life. It's almost like when they're forging steel, you're going between the fire, the grind of life, or the energy, the pulse of the hammer of life back into water. And this seems like it's an initiation energy where the cooling air, the new spirit is rising. The understanding of who you thought you were in relation to what the world is offering you. It's giving you an opportunity to stand in your value and to hold true with that. Excuse me a moment. And so basically reinitiating ourselves back into a sense of self in relation to a changing world and seeing how we feel into that through the processes of our own recognition of where we've been, the shadows we project, we entertain, we hold, and the value we hold in ourselves to see if we're open for change or if the world has to keep giving us more of the same in order for us to understand where our soul's intention for growth is. We got the Pluto opposition with Mars in opening degrees, 3 degrees Aquarius. So we have this initiation into all that's dark, all the transformative energies which lead through the passion. what is the feeling for? What could it be for? How do you rewrite that or feel into that in a new way? How do you express it more authentically, more pure?
And I feel because Mars was already in the sign of Cancer when we had the former eclipses in fall, the Libra one and what did we have? Oh, the Pisces one. We had the Pisces one first, then we had the Libra one, and now we just ended the eclipse season of the first eclipse season of 2025. And Jupiter actually only stationed retrograde after the solar eclipse in Libra. Jupiter is now direct, as we know, still in his shadow. And we just had this full moon in Libra. And this is, to me, very connected because during this full moon in Libra, Sun was conjunct Chiron. And that was exactly the same energy we experienced last year during the new moon solar eclipse in Aries, the one in a new phase conjunction with North Node last year on April 8th. So this is quite important because, as you know, Chiron is the key between Saturn and Uranus, between the manifested reality and the potential of everything that is not yet in manifestation, which is everything, like 98, 99% of what is out there, only like very small percentage of the energy is actually in a form at the, and I guess any present moment because the universe is unlimited. So it's just like what you said, like, are we courageous and brave enough to step into this unknown, into these new waters, unknown territory? Because going forward now with Pluto in Aquarius, Neptune already in Aries, Saturn just about to move into Aries next month, and then we have Jupiter moving into Cancer in June and Uranus into Gemini in July. So everybody's moving, everything is changing, shifting. And there is this new energy post these eclipses and with this full moon in Libra and Sun conjunct Chiron, the illumination of where we were, the potential imbalance or what is out of balance or what needs to be neutralized and where we want to go from here. Because with any full moon, it's a midpoint. So we are recognizing and becoming more aware of, especially now post Jupiter retrograde, and by this stage, everybody post retrograde, we are recognizing that we are not the same people we were 6 months ago, 1 year ago. Like everything has changed, a lot of things have changed. Even last April, at this stage, last April, exactly a year ago, we not yet had that Uranus-Jupiter conjunction that happened after. Now on the same day this year, we'll have the Saturn-North Node conjunction. So everything is in a continuous state of flux. And now Pluto being done with Capricorn and Saturn almost in Aries, we are creating a new reality, like literally in a real time, with Mercury being the first planet conjunct Neptune in Aries later on today. The way we perceive in reality and everything that is perceived is changing because, like you said, the values have changed, our perception of who we are has changed, therefore our sense of purpose, destiny, and authentic expression and meaning that we seek in everything's changed. So it is an initiation, it is like being reborn. And now at the end of this week we'll be moving from Aries into Taurus season, so that initiation will slowly but surely start taking form. And
Mhm.
then we are going ahead with all planets direct at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. I know as soon as we hit Taurus season, we'll see the Uranian energy come online from all these personal planetary and transplanetary changes over that Aries point. The Alpha and Omega being bound through relation to existence, the felt presence of our experience and the value that we hold in the depth of ourself. What are you worth? Are you worth more than your job, or than your politics, or than your family's expectations, or the expectations of the past? How do we embody our change without wasting it or focusing on things which are negating our own creative potentials, which are allowing our freedoms to be absorbed into closing out old loops or cycles or structures?
Mm.
So as we feel this Uranian energy, this Prometheus energy, and we decide through Chiron, do we walk our healing down off the mountain, or do we stay there to continue to feed the vultures with our grief, our misery, our shadows? This is part of the process of Saturn being reborn here, because Saturn is the child of Uranus, of all time, of all change, but it is embodied in the new generations or of our psyche, not just the physical people, the humans, but of all manifest form, come through our awareness. And we can look at life like we need to know the answers, or we're heading towards definitions. In at times, that's the correct way to be, but sometimes it's about releasing what the expectations are or have been, and just trying to find what is the purity in yourself, knowing that the job, the world, there's always going to be opportunity to relate to this world, but there isn't always going to be opportunity to relate to yourself in a new way, which is what we bring forward. So I feel that with Uranus heading into Gemini, that's when the sensations become more in relation to your actions, your deeds, and where you put your focus, or what you co-sign as your truth, or a authority in a system, or a belief, or a government, or a reason, a catastrophe, anything. That's going to be a value measure of how you hold your own value in your life. So I feel these are the times where we really get into a sense of who we are. We bring that forward with this Martian passion energy, and Saturn will help us ground that into form when he meets Neptune and Aries, and Venus will be going on the shadow path up into Taurus. So it's going to be we're going to start rebalancing our compromises through our conscious efforts, and that will feed the passion. And until then, people will be projecting their tension into the world. And so trying to get in alignment with yourself in that way, I feel, is a better way to use the energy, the tension, consciously.
And for some reason, I'm like being directed to Jupiter, because I know we had this conversation previously about this Sun-Jupiter conjunction, which last year in 2024 took place in Taurus. And this year is happening in Cancer, right before the Cancer new moon. We have the lunations quite early now, at early degrees, until everything resets with the double Virgo new moon at the end of summer. But anyway, that's beside the point. But it's interesting that we have this Jupiter in Gemini at the moment, which is offering us, through the expansion of our consciousness, the future timelines. Everybody decides that the way they decide is how much they master their monkey mind, this program, the matrix, the program of the matrix. And there is no Sun Jupiter conjunction in Gemini, because in a sense everybody will decide for themselves, and there is not a wrong choice, because everything is supporting the expansions of consciousness. And then with Uranus moving there, it's going to take it to the whole new level. So then the next conjunction between Jupiter and Sun will take place in the sign of Cancer. So we had the opportunity to learn about our values while Jupiter was in Taurus last year until May, and now Jupiter will be moving into the sign of Cancer in June, with Saturn already being on early degrees of Aries. And Jupiter is the traditional ruler of North Node. So again, we have the connection to Mars, because Mars is the ruler of Neptune. Neptune is the modern ruler of the North Node. So Jupiter kind of, again, plays a hidden role there, just like Mars does. Everything is connected to where we're going. And then Mercury at the moment is the ruler of Jupiter as well, while Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini. So it is really about the choice. Like, what are you choosing based on the experience we've all had in this past year, since everything that took place, since last April, last May, whatever, cycles within cycles within cycles within cycles. And we now all in this year 9, this year of shedding skin of the snake, and also of the year of Hermit, the year number 9, we all deciding we are choosing our future timeline, which then will be expanded and co-created, right? Because even now with this, as you mentioned, building towards the Mars-Pluto opposition, the final one, when Mars is back in the sign of Leo, 3 degrees, which is all about expansion, co-creation, collaboration, right? In tarot, that's Venus card, right? Is the Empress, the new Earth. So what are we creating? So there is not a wrong choice. It's just everybody came here to play a different role. Some people just came here to play the role of the contrast and be the keepers of the past. Some people came here to create the future. And at any point, we are meeting at the right here, right now, at the present moment. And with all these planets, all these movements, all this everything that's activated at the moment, especially the strong Aries component we are experiencing at the moment, and once Venus goes back into Aries, we are starting anew. because the cycles are resetting, and this is a preparation for this 2026 year, which is the reset point. The year 10, the Wheel of Fortune, the 1 and the 0, the Fool's Journey, and the Magician. So this is it is an important year, a year, because we already called it the boot camp year, but it's also the life review within one's incarnation. Most of us are not gonna die and choose a new life for themselves. We are doing it right here, right now. So
Mhm.
it is ultimate preparation for the reset, which is next year.
Yeah, you made a lot of good points. That's very interesting with Jupiter and the Sun from Taurus to Cancer and the Sagittarius um, Gemini axis, Mercury and Jupiter being kind of skipped in that process, but not really skipped. It's more of the understanding takes self-authority in order to know. It's kind of like when Jupiter is when you're shooting your bow, you're aiming the flaming arrow of desire or inspiration. You know what you're aiming for, but you do not know the impact of the result, the emotions of the victory or the defeat or the transformation of what it feels to live and embody that much passion and direction.
Mhm.
So this is, to me, very telling of how we're going to realize a lot of our life's worth and see the transformation of our beliefs in relation to our histories or culture or the society or our friends or lovers or anyone really, wherever you hold the purity of the transformation, wherever your closest emotions connect with others, we'll have a new understanding of our own self-worth in that and be able to choose different ways, having the knowledge. Now you can apply that and cultivate the wisdom, and you can cultivate new beliefs through that process.
And I always find it fascinating with the Sagittarius, because to me the arrow it's throwing is Mars. So it is interesting because it is literally that, the human journey, the hero's journey, the Virgo. Right? Like, if we know what is the impact and where exactly we'll go with that arrow, then what's the point? What's the point? So that's why you have to have the courage and the ignorance of the fool, right? The Aries, to have the desire to even shoot the arrow, the Leo to Sagittarius, the Aries to Sagittarius, to go and explore. And that's literally what it is, with the Gemini, with the Sagittarius. It is going to be different things to different people, because the consciousness is expanding from, like, the way I got the picture was, and I already described it to you, like, is the shards of the glass, the fragmentation of the consciousness of humanity is coming together through this healing process to become whole again, but to be fractured again in a different way, which will be more this Aquarius to Leo, this authentic expression. And it's going to be very um, beyond recognition, beyond pattern recognition process, because of the Aquarius. Everything that we think we know, it's fractured, because with Aquarius there is no replication, there is no copy paste, there is no blueprint, there is nothing to follow. It is all scrapped, because the Capricorn is the last earth sign before Aquarius, Pisces, even though everything is always connected to everything. But when we go from Capricorn to Aquarius, all the form starts to disintegrate, because we beyond that, right? It's like the last earth, the last form, the last manifestation. And now we tap in more into these invisible realms, the quantum field, and the spirit working with the spirit and all the rest of it, because the desire has changed. The desire is no longer to be confined in the box like the Capricorn, by the rules, by the structures, by the authority. But the desire now, with the Saturn moving into Aries, is that you need to learn to become your own authority, your own leader. And actually, what just came to me with this, Jupiter, Sun, Cancer, Taurus conjunction, the last conjunction in Taurus was on Capricorn Deacon. So there is again correlation. Capricorn Deacon of Taurus, foundation of becoming your own authority, and Cancer. Now Mars post retrograde in Cancer, by you becoming different, you becoming your own version of yourself, self-made, post the post-traumatic stress disorder of healing the childhood wound, right? The self-nurture, re-nurturing yourself so you can step into that agency of I am a grown-up and I decide, and no longer passing on the responsibility to someone else. Like, is that person's fault? Is the ancestors' fault? Is the politician's fault? Everybody plays a role. Everybody plays a role. So even the shadow players, politicians, the evildoers, they all just play a role. Everybody plays a role. So now is the time to decide what role you want to play, because the South Node already passed Libra. It's now in Virgo. Based on everything that ever happened on this planet and applying discernment, what role do you want to play? And focus on that. Stop focusing on the roles you don't want to play, because it's just a waste of your energy, right? So this is like, it's kind of like, and it's interesting because next year will be the year of horse. It is like putting blinkers on, no longer wasting your precious life force and energy of looking at all these different things that you do not want, but rather allow your own heart and intuition to lead you to manifestation of that which you do want.
Yeah, very well said. I mean, so many things were coming to me as you were talking. I don't want to reiterate a lot of what you said,
Go for it.
but like the tarot kept speaking to me as you were talking. I'm thinking Seven of Wands, Mars and Leo. Then I'm thinking the Strength card, Saturn and Leo, the Lemon Skate, the Infinity, and the link to Justice to Libra, the switch between 8 and 11. I don't profess to know it exactly, but I see how energies can flow. And so when you have this connection with Saturn, Venus, and Mars through the sun, through the embodiment, being the judge of your own court, bringing your purity into being, it's part of the process of learning the betrayals of the authority or the lack of your own judgments, or you didn't value it enough because you had sacrificed the purity of what it was to be another reason to climb the mountain, to get to the top. And so re-embodying who you are is about following your passion. In that void you create as you release the climb and you walk back to the valley where the star is pouring the new emotional flow, moving to the flow of the river of your own accord, rather than by the system of time or necessity of reasons for paying the bills, voting, paying your taxes, being part of these groups or these communities, or living the expectations of the ghost and the machine. Being reborn, that is the fool's journey through a conscious effort. We're all on it unconsciously, of course, but we come in and out of awareness, the ebb and flow of our consciousness. We choose things, and we find in time that we're always in the right place at the right time, doing what we should be doing at that time, but we don't always digest our own psyche in real time. So we're making the wrong decisions for the right reasons a lot of times. Now, mistakes are what we experience when we realize we're living in ignorance, and ignorance is what's required to be authentic. So it's okay to not know who you are, what you're going to, or what the world's going to do. But if you put the energy into building up what that could be, then you're going to honor the world and honor your life, and you're going to bring that type of ignorance into the power of the fool's journey through cultivating yourself and your own lack of understanding. So you're building your spirit in the court of reality in these times.
Yeah, but the ignorance is necessary, because if you would know and if you wouldn't forget, then there will be no fun in the game. It's like you go to the movies and you know exactly what's gonna happen and who's gonna do what and when and stuff. What's the fun in that, right? And it is the trine, the trine between Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. You cannot master the human experience if you don't make mistake. I mean, I keep saying this to my clients all the time. If there was no crazy person out there that never tried to do something outside of the box, humanity would be long dead. You know, if we always kept just doing what we always did and never try something different and made a mistake, right? Mistake is a take that didn't take. It's information gathering. That's mistake, right? But because of the misinterpretation of the Virgo archetype, which is why we have the South Node there, we have the opportunity to redefine it, especially with Mercury now coming, well, actually already been in Aries as we speak, is an opportunity to look at everything differently. Like literally, we have the opportunity to reiterate and redefine everything. Like even looking at Virgo, oh yeah, it's a perfection, and it's like this about mistakes and criticism and nervous breakdowns and stuff. But is it really? I mean, it's everything. Virgo is the spirit embodied, right? Is the spirit coming to Earth, having a human experience, which encompasses the whole spectrum of everything it represents, right? So there is no such a thing as mistake, really, because every single person ever that think that they made a mistake, thinking about it from right here, right now, because like you said, you can never fully be aware of what you're going through until later on in life, because we cannot see the trees where we amongst them, right? You cannot have the full understanding of everything, and we will not have the full totality of understanding of this incarnation until we transcend to the spirit form, and then we can see everything through 360 lens, which we cannot do here because the human brain, as beautiful tool as it is limited. It's limited by the time and space. This is changing, so let's not get hard on ourselves, especially with Uranus moving into Gemini. But with the right here, right now, we are where we are, and the peace of heart comes from accepting what is for what it is when it is, right? So going back to this Virgo and the self-mastery, we can never master anything if we are not walking the fool's journey of ignorance and just running on these desires and passions and like not having a clue where the arrow of the Sagittarius is gonna take us, and just go for it, because otherwise what's the point, right? Like what you're gonna do, just be in a space and there is nothing there, right? There is nothing there. Like the universe needs you to go and manifest shit, because otherwise there is nothing there. It's just all potential, right? So we are so hard on ourselves because this is the way we were programmed. But from the higher perspective, higher dimensions, our starseed family, and even our own higher self, or the source itself, there is no judgment. It's all about expansion. So it's say, okay, you go and try to do it differently. Apply your own authentic lens of ignorance, of fool's journey, and expand through a new experience. Do the same thing in a different way. Who cares, right? Because otherwise, what else do we do? Just sit there on a cloud and twinkle our fingers or something? I mean, there's nothing to do. We don't even have fingers. So, I mean, we just come here and forget and take everything very seriously and just trying to find a way, right? Try to find a way back home, back to your heart, back to the source. But why wait or why die? You can just do it right here, right now. And that takes us back to this. What timelines are you choosing? What timelines am I choosing? Where it depends on the level of healing which are willing to go through and the level of garbage we are willing to release, like with the hot air balloon. How far you want to go depends on how much you're willing to let go of, because we cannot pour into full cup, right? We need to empty it. So this is the year of emptying.
Yeah, that's well said. The mind body, the machine that is the mind body. We get caught up in the replication, so we forget the creation. And as you said, in order to truly create, you have to release. And though it is a powerful tool and it's beautiful, and we can assimilate information, we're growing and we're evolving, we're creating new things. It is a perfection of a replication. And sometimes the replication changes completely in intention and the way it looks and functions in the spirit. And that's a cultivation process. And right now, we can continue to do that, or we can release into the truth of our own imagination. What is the possibility? What is the potential? As you said, there are conceptions and ideas we can connect to that bring us out of the limitations of our programming from the past. And we can see where our imagination is the limitation. And it's not necessarily what you can imagine, it's what you can believe. And that's the feeling, the truth in the feeling. And so I feel as we digest our experiences, our consciousness shifts. And as the consciousness changes, we are just compassionating more of our ignorance or more of the unknown. And we create in that process through the void of potential. New things are born, created, and it spans all dimensions. The mundane is mystical. There is no separation but the ones we define. And it's in the power of our hubris, what we believe to know to be true. And we all give rise to hubris, the spirit of knowing. And in that, we give rise to the polarity of nemesis. And we change and transform and grow through that dance. So this is a lot of what our consciousness is going through right now. And we
That's
could see all the old stories coming up, and then we have the opportunity, as you mentioned, to respond or react. How do we engage with that, knowing our new value and what's at stake and what's possible?
Yeah, to me, that hubris nemesis thing is that continuous reignition of the grand mutable cross. And we will experience that very soon with Jupiter squaring the nodes. Jupiter, as the traditional rule of the North Node, still ruled by the rule of the South Node. Jupiter will be squaring, and I mean, technically everything when it will be moving through the sign of Gemini in Gemini season will be squaring the nodes, and then again in Sagittarius season will be squaring the nodes from the opposite direction, right? And to me, this is the hubris to nemesis because the mutable signs are necessary because they mean a change is coming. A change is necessary because otherwise we just get stuck in a rut, right? There is a season for everything, right? There is this continuous ebb and flow of life, the yin and yang. You know, we have the even in a astrological chart, you have the feminine polarized signs with the masculine, feminine, masculine, and stuff like that, right? So everything is needed, everything is always present. There just has to be a balance. So it's like that. So to me, you know, like we all thought we know the truth, but what is the truth? Truth is changing because there is always new information being gathered through a human experience, a new wisdom is being applied, right? And then old things lose meaning. It doesn't mean they didn't have a meaning or, you know, that some of them are not useful, but the time has changed. It's the same like with these religious books written thousands of years ago. It doesn't take their value away, but we are in the 21st century now and the world changed massively and we are not the same hybrids we were when, you know, that guy channeled the testaments and stuff and Bible was written and Quran was written and whatever was written, you know. And I mean, people can shoot me for that, but I mean, we are not the same level of consciousness where these were written. And then obviously we can go into completely different rabbit holes about when they were actually written and who wrote them and, you know, la 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 la. But anyway, the point is that the story is always changing because we always growing and expanding, and the, you know, the source doesn't want to just sit on one story and like, okay, this is the absolute, and now the end, dead end. You know, there is no beginning, there is no end, there is no, like you keep saying, absolution. So there has to be a hubris and there has to be the nemesis, and the grand mutable cross have to be reignited over and over and over again. And in communication with all the other signs that come up with the desires, right? Like the Sagittarius give desire to the Aries, and the Virgo gives desire to Taurus. So there is a new needs, new values, new foundations created all the time. The Pisces to Cancer to Scorpio, the continuous process of realizing who we are or who we are not and letting it go, the aspects of ourselves we aren't. So with this Mars moving from Cancer on 29 degrees as we speak to Leo, we are all being reborn because the consciousness changed, it shifted. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we might not have caught up with it rationally or even somatically, but the consciousness has already expanded. So we are just catching up, playing a catch up. And when Uranus moves into Gemini, everything will start speeding up at a very different rate. And we can already experience that with time passing very differently. So yeah, let's just wait for it. Saturn, Neptune in Aries, and Uranus in Gemini, while Pluto is in Aquarius. We will need that Chiron in Taurus for sure.
Yeah, I know that's going to be an intense energy we're bringing into form. I mean, that's the thing. The energy is flowing through us, you know, always. And we do it unconsciously. We bring it into this world or consciously. And we don't always have the power of knowledge available to us. And so a lot of people because they're not used to holding that kind of responsibility, are not going to be able to jump into who or what they think they can be in this world. So I feel in order to get the Chiron into Taurus, actually to embody the wisdom of that, is to get into the body, to nurture yourself. If you can learn to nurture yourself and your own value, if you can bring that into the ritual of your life, then no matter what happens in this world, you understand there's a border between the expectations of a world gone mad and the freedom of your own choices, and what that value can be lives in that border, what you're cultivating, and that to me is where the queen and the king unite through following your passion with Cancer to Leo. The temple of the moon and the temple of the sun being realized in giving birth to judgment. The sextile from Aquarius to Aries and trining into Gemini, and that energy of larger scale realizations that your ancestors held, that our history would show us if we knew how to read it or what to look for or what we could even value. We limit so much by the finite, most mundane. But this stone, it imbibes whatever meaning you put into it. It actually holds your focus and your intention and your belief. And as simple as that is, you can do that with anything in existence. And so the authority, the silent authority that is of Capricorn to Gemini and ruled through trining or squaring with Libra, we've been initiated with this full moon in Libra, and it's bringing an awareness to us that we will realize as we embody the process to come. And so we're always in this state of becoming aware of our actions in real time, putting our energy into the places which bring reciprocity into your experience, meaning you're living your life in accordance to how you want to. Then you allow reality to co-create with you that way. So it is a royal union we're going through right now, and it might not feel like it or look like it, but that's what I feel we're going through right now.
Yeah, and it's also, as we spoke, is the year 9, which is the Hermit card in Tarot, in opposition with the Moon card, which is actually a Pisces. It is not the Moon, it's a Pisces. The Moon is the High Priestess. However, what I was trying to say with that, just like when you said about the embodying, the nurturing yourself so you can create the natural boundary, right? The Capricorn, Virgo to Capricorn, Taurus, the ground Earth trine again, the natural boundary, which, you can always change, right? But this is what we really learn in this year, because with the Jupiter, bringing this overload of information, stimuli from external environment, we have the opportunity, and we spoke about this before, to master our mind. And then when Jupiter moves into Cancer, to master our emotions through this self-nurture and whatever is going to be happening in the second half of 2025, that Jupiter will be bringing to the surface the opportunity for expansion through emotional regulation, not emotional suppression, but emotional regulation, learning to work with our emotions. And that's like what you said, that when we master these two things technically, right, our mind and our emotions, then you mastered your life, you mastered the matrix, because then nothing outside of you will have a say, it will have an authority. You are the authority. The external world, this Cancer Capricorn opposition squared by Aries and Libra, they will just initiate more opportunities for growth. But you decide who you're becoming, and how much the external is impacting you. And then with the Libra, Aquarius, Gemini, when we choose to look at what we perceive in differently, that which we perceive in will change. And our relationship with that is changing also. And this is how we break in the patterns of these old trauma loops that many of us stuck in, the over and over and over and over again it goes, experiencing the same triggers in a sense, and this is the opportunity to break free from it. You know, with the Pluto in Aquarius, that's the ultimate freedom, breaking free from the patterns of the old karma and trauma loops. And this is the year for it, with the Saturn and Neptune moving into Pisces for the final time in autumn, in fall, or if you are in Southern Hemisphere, in your springtime. And that's it. That's it. We will never experience Neptune in Pisces ever in our life, at least our life, the present souls on the planet at the moment, but who knows? That could be wrong too as the time goes on. Saturn, yes, we will experience Saturn in Pisces again in about 28, 29 years, but everything else have changed. By that point, Pluto will be already in Pisces, right? Pluto will be in Pisces by that point. So the world will be a very different place. Uranus will be God knows where. So everything is continuously changing, so there is no need to wait, and there is no need to compare to someone else. What really anybody needs to do right now is to nurture themselves into receiving that which they wish to receive, like understanding that you are a divine being having a human experience. You just came here to contribute with your personal authentic expression, whatever that may be, and just open yourself to receiving, because the universe is abundant and it wants to reward you. But we limit ourselves by believing things about ourselves that are not true, and they are not even ours. We just adopted and inherited a lot of belief systems as a projection of the external, the Libra, and now we have the opportunity to balance in by claiming our own authority under this pressure of a lot of restrictions that many people are experiencing, whether inward or outward or both, because the micro and macro always mirror each other, as above so below, as within so without. So this is really a preparation for whatever you choose to experience going forward, because there is no more this Piscean way of living that, you know, one for all and all for one, right? Like, yeah, we are all coming from the same place, return back to the same place, but there will be no need for 8 billion souls, which again is questionable. 8 billion beings on this planet, human beings anyway, if we were all to do the same thing and express it in the same way, it would make no sense, right? Universe doesn't waste time or space. So this is the opportunity in this year to really dive deep within, re-nurture oneself, and open to receiving the life that you wish to create and attract and experience, and stop wasting time putting too much energy and effort into everything that does not feel in alignment. And you know by how it makes you feel. And this is again Mars pointing to Leo as of tomorrow going forward. What connects you to your heart? What connects you to that inner child, to the child you once were before you got indoctrinated by the time, space, and culture and program and whatever? Who were you when you first came here? And remembering and becoming that again, you know, or removing the layers that prevented you from being that or expressing yourself as such. So we are at the beginning of a very exciting journey, but whatever it will be and how it will be perceived and experienced is that choice, the free will choice.
Yeah, that's true. I know, that's just, I keep thinking of the Libra full moon, Venus, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and the compromise. So through the court of life or the experiences of the past, you know, we were informed through the Saturn, through the systems, the traditions, all of our experiences. And we may not have realized in real time where we were going, because we're still in the process of relating to what that was, holding the charge, bringing that into Scorpio, the depth of the relation. So that compromise with Venus going back into Aries, the working of your unconscious meanderings in life, you know, reclaiming the value of what your life, your heart holds, what honors you, how can you digest your own shadow enough to not pass on your compromises to others, and to see that we're all learning in the same processes, we're all at different experiences and different levels and doing different things in this world. But if you can allow the understanding of yourself, then you can see that in this world and others, and then you can just release things which are playing out their own karmic codes or their own cycles, the echoes of other pasts. And I feel in these times, naturally, we're going to experience some shakeups. And in that disconnect, that's where we'll start to feel as we swim in our own authority, where the power lies in your choice and how you can apply that and ground that into being more purely from your heart space. And that will grow Venus as she travels back through Aries and into Taurus. And the conviction, you'll be squaring that energy, that understanding into existence as your values are expressed and they bloom in new ways. And yeah, I feel that's part of a lot of what this last few months have been, but certainly past few years.
Yeah, it's like I really feel that this eclipse season we just had, and then the post-eclipse Libra full moon, which was not an eclipse, but it was birthed by the eclipse because the new moon in Libra on October 2nd was an eclipse. And this again is the Aries Libra eclipses that we've just had are connected to the Pluto transit through the sign of Aquarius. So we'll be really evolving this energy for the next 20 years almost. And it is like a portal. It was like a portal, and with the full moon, we had the eclipses. Eclipses are always portal. Everything is a portal. New moons, full moons, portals. But with the full moon, it is the illumination, right? And we had almost everybody direct, apart from Venus. Venus stationed direct right after the full moon, so she was still stationing, like still going from retrograde to direct at the time of the full moon. But it really is a fascinating time to be alive right now. It doesn't necessarily have to feel like that, and it's not easy because we are neurological wired. Our brain is wired to look for known, for the familiar, for the comfort zone, right? But Uranus already has been working on that since 2018, right? Since he moved into Taurus, breaking us out of that comfort zone because we are not here to survive. That was the old paradigm. We are here to thrive and create our foundation of this new earth, this new expression of humanity that is built on you feeling valuable, you feeling like you are a value. You don't have to prove nothing to nobody to feel worthy, right? But also, what do you value, right? It's not just like, okay, my ancestor like this and this and traditions and that. And again, yeah, it's not to all to be scrapped, but it's to discern, does this still hold the same level of value to me, or is it causing me stress or frustration or anger or resentment, or what is it? So it's not just about blindly following what was, because when your ancestors are reborn as your grandchildren, I can promise you they will have a very different values. So sometimes we have this sense of loyalty to the times gone, um, which is just ego patterning. It is not really necessary always, right? There are things that obviously we value as a humanity, right? The moral code, being kind, and this. And again, there is a difference between being nice and being kind, right? So there are a lot of things that we've been reevaluating through these personal planets going retrograde, including Jupiter, that we've been reevaluating since last October, right? And now everything is starting to be more clear. Now everybody is going direct. Now we're going to be moving from Aries to Taurus season and then eventually to Gemini season. All these planetary shifts, the first time Neptune in Aries since God knows how long, 160 years or so. So there are a lot of huge shifts, and we cannot go back. It is not possible, it is not available, we cannot go back. So there could be a level of sentiment and nostalgia attached to it. We know Leo can be very nostalgic, but this is an opportunity to create something we've never created, go somewhere we've never been before. And that is like again, it's connected to the ultimate freedom of expression that Aquarius in opposition to Leo. And it is requiring a certain level of responsibility and maturation, because really when somebody tells you you are free to do as you please, to do what you want, create what you want, then it requires a certain level of maturation and responsibility to not misuse your power. And that's what I feel this year we are mastering with the Hermit, with the Virgo South Node. We are learning to discern and humble ourselves, not to diminish ourselves and allow the inferior ego to play games with us, but to balance the inferior and superior ego, have a healthy dose of self-confidence, but also humility and grace, and to use these gifts of being a human, spirit embodied in a human body, like what a miracle, wisely. And these are the choices that we will be invited to make, and everybody will make them based on where they are at, and it's all perfect.
Yeah, that was well said. I know everything you said, I agree with. It's interesting to see in real time all the changes that are happening and to hold the meaning of what that could be for us. And it's also interesting, how do you make that work for you in this world when the world's changing? It's like, the sun in Leo, there's a sense of self that is inborn in reason. And with the Aquarius polarity with Pluto and with the potential of the unknown, what's the level of what we could reach to? You can't really put your light on anything that you can recognize. And so in that process, we're starting to find our own contrast between what is seen and what isn't through the shadow and the light, balancing ourselves in the process as we burn through what that is collectively and within ourselves, the micro to macro. And yeah, people are going to be pulled into the directions and the energies of this world which best suit their spiritual growth or their expression, their life force, which help to grow the psyche, the collective and individual psyche. And what value, what energy you bring with that in your life to the next is open for conception, not just debate, but it's like, what's the limit of your imagination? So how do we live in a limitless world knowing that it's trying to close down? You have to bring a sense in feeling to this place. You have to embody the emotion in order to feel what that could mean, embodied, not just limited to the conception of the mind or the relations. And so this is part of what I feel we're growing in this world. And if we can conceive of that, hold on to what that could be loosely, then we can use that energy for our advantage and to benefit other people, to live an example, not just lead by example, because I feel we should try and lead ourselves, not other people. And then your purity will speak in the process, and it will do more than words. It will help the inspiration, the relation, the focus, the resonance of your attention. So that's another aspect that we're bringing into awareness. And I don't know, I'm excited about how this time is progressing. As you mentioned earlier, it's going faster. I've already started to get sensations of the future, in the past month or so, and just subtle understandings of future nostalgia.
Mm.
And that's like that Aquarian field to me. That's Uranus. It's knowing that what is immortal is beyond recognition or replication, but we can be assured change is the one constant. And our moment, every moment of your day is eternity through conception, through what you can create, what you can do. And trying to find out a resonance of yourself, a place where you can hold that idea in line with the most mundane life. That is art. That's high art to me. That's Libra. And that's what I feel we will be creating consciously and unconsciously, because at the end of the day, no matter what happens, it's beyond our control. There is the reason we feel the need to hold things is because I sense that we already know that. And we seek things to bind us, to hold us, to give us a sense that we know so badly that we bring life to patterns and echoes, and it's a beautiful thing. but now we're bringing life to new things, and we're honoring the Piscean dream in new ways. The purity of all that shakeup has fallen to the bottom, and that's where we're growing from, the resonance and the minerals of our psyche, these different elemental patterns rising up in us. And we create new myths in that, and we're helping to bring that into realization now.
Yeah, it is the phoenix rising from the ashes of the past and the future past.
Yeah.
So it really is like that. It's just, and it's interesting because what was really like coming up for me was this yeah, the world is gonna get faster, become faster, maybe crazier, the micro macro. At the end of the day, the micro is just a reflection of the micro anyway. But as I know, many people know that you can, in your own inner world, when you have the moment of stillness and quiet, you can be and have anything you want. You can be in your past, you can be in your present, you can be in your future, you can be king, you can be a queen, you can be whatever the hell you want. So that is the true like the true freedom, the true skill, to understand that your inner world is yours to create, and the outer world is just going to reflect or mirror it to you, depending where you are at, and what else you need to learn, or whether the conscious and unconscious are in alignment. Because most of the time, most of the day, for most of us, the unconscious is in charge, and most of that is bound on trauma and repetition of old cycles, old programs that are not even ours, all the rest of it. But that inner world is purely yours. That is the moon. The moon currently in Sagittarius, moving through the second decan, the Aries decan, whilst Mercury is going to conjunct Neptune for the first time in the sign of Aries as the first planet, conjuncting, making a connection to Neptune in the sign of Aries. So that really is very profound, because again, when we change the perspective or perception of what we observe, in that which we observe in changes, but you can change it at any time in your own inner world, because we are all here creating our own universes, our own microcosm of the macrocosm, and we have that power to do so. So in a sense, we are becoming more aware, more conscious, and when we become conscious of the unconscious, then we can change it. We can change it consciously, because yes, the change is the only constant. So in a sense, it is really a remarkable time to be alive, because I feel that humanity has never been more free, even though the world may try to convince you otherwise, but humanity has never been more free. And now, with all these changes, planetary shifts and stuff, the veils are so thin. And because this is a desire of the entire universe, multiverse, for things to go ahead with this expansion of consciousness, we are so supported, with the North Node in Pisces. We have everything to our disposal available to us, like whether it's on this realm, this planet, different planets, different realms, different dimensions, everything is available to us, because everything is supporting the same goal, which is the expansion of consciousness. So even just the idea of being alone in this, and poor us humans on planet Earth being abandoned and neglected by the God, just being left to suffer and fetch for ourselves, that is all just the illusion. It's just the story that's been created, by some guy on a mountain writing the book, 2000 years ago or more, right? Few thousand years ago. This is no longer the level of consciousness we are interacting with. So in a sense, when we really remember who we really are, and we are all gods, we are all extension of the source, we are all source itself, we are already, like you keep saying, we are already enlightened. We didn't come here to become enlightened. We are all enlightened because we are the source. We just came here to play. We came here to expand through experiencing the same thing in a different way, in a different time, with different people who play a different role, right? I mean, it's all just a big theater, right? So, but it's very real, and it doesn't mean bad things don't happen, scary things don't happen. We're not gonna suffer, because when we signed up for the human experience, we said, okay, I'll go, and I experienced the totality of what it means to be human, good, bad, ugly, all of it, right? Because everything holds a meaning and purpose. So this is where we at. So it doesn't mean that you will never suffer in your life, no matter what you do. But yeah, just like the yogis say, right? The pain is inevitable, the suffering is optional. And it's always the choice of the perception, the perspective, because in your inner world, you are the king. you rule, right? You decide. So it's just again mastering the thoughts, the monkey mind that is trying to convince us based on the old program and the narrative of the external of certain reality which you might or might not wish to be part of, and then the emotion because the emotion make you feel it's real, but it isn't. So it's up to us to master both of these things, focus on our attention on what we want to create, and evoke the feeling that convinces us that it is possible, it is already here. And this is how we create the new universes that are uniquely ours, authentic expression of who you are and what you desire, rather than somebody else projecting onto you all sorts of things and then you creating by proxy, not understanding what is even going on, right? So we are at the early stages of this living life on planet Earth consciously in full awareness, or greater awareness that probably we have ever had. And that is the ultimate freedom and is exciting. So I'm in for it. I was born for these times.
Wow, yeah, that was great. I mean, everything you said, I can't go back and reiterate that because you covered it eloquently. But it is just to reiterate what you said with the Jupiter into Cancer and the monkey mind and the king, and essentially the cost of our consciousness to hold the beliefs of the past and the information and the data and the programs and the values of the past. In order for us to grow to where we're going, the mythologies which are being born through us, you have to release what that is. That's where you fall off Capricorn into Aquarius, the unknown. It looks like certain death to some people
Hmm.
because it's beyond their conception. It's beyond what they could allow themselves to do. And it truly does come from the feeling of and the belief rises from the feeling. So as our consciousness shifts and we start to feel, and the world around us gives us all the data and the information, and we actually feel the impact. As you said, what's it feel to you in your body? How do you feel about this direction, this idea, these beliefs, these impressions upon you? As you allow yourself to hold your own language and value what that is and put that into reality, then you change and you allow the world to change too. And yeah, it was that's
And I'm just going to add, because I forgot that one thing, which is not even mine, it's a replication. What Dr. JD say all the time, Joe Dispenza, that when you allow yourself to become no one in no time and nowhere, and there are all these no some still stuff going on, that's where you can create anything, become everything. So it literally is that what you just said, allowing ourselves to let go of everything we think we are, we know, we've been, and everything, like literally just go into that void of nothingness to become everything, because it's the same thing. The nothing is the everything, is the 0 point, the void, the ultimate darkness, the yin, the feminine from which the new is created, right? And it needs the masculine, right? Like there is always a balance. It's always co-creation. It's always co-creation, right? So I mean, it's just, to me, it's just fascinating. I just can geek out about this all day. Like
yeah.
the way I'm wired and how my natural blueprint is, like now is the best time of my life. I was
Mm.
born for this. I was waiting for this all my life. I feel misplaced. And now it's like, okay, this is the time. This is the time I've been waiting for. So, but it is not easy, even for me, like there are a lot of changes, shift changes, and it's the same for everyone. We are just all adjusting to our own journey, hero's journey, fool's journey, and doing our best. That's it. That's the best you can do, and having a compassion with yourself and another, because the place we go in, we've not been before, so nobody really knows. Um, so it's just one thing, one day at a time, one thing at a time, the Virgo, right? The step-by-step process, learning and adjusting and keep going, because it will never be perfect and it will never be done. So just enjoy the journey.
That's the true value. Yeah, you just encompass the Pisces to Aquarius Leo energies right there with your perspective.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Good note to
Well,
close.
I know. Yeah, that's that Neptune and Aries.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Like the perception of time and experiencing of the time is very different.
Yeah,
Even as it's been like even from 1 month ago, it is very different now, and it will just keep changing because of the Uranus Gemini ingression in July. So yeah, it's just
yeah,
like you were saying, there are things that we cannot control, the collective contracts. There are things that are outside of our control, so we just have to flow with it. But then there are things you can control, and it's important to discern which one is which. So
yeah.
yeah.
It's almost like we are gardeners in the cultivation of time through our being and our forms and what we do, and coming online with realizing what that value can be and how to embody it best so that your heart leads the mind and the data can be a guideline, but it is not the guardian or the governor of what it is that you're doing in the world. But yeah,
Well,
I don't know. These are good times. We could talk for hours more on this, I know, but I think out of respect for Saturn time, the viewers and each other, we should call it quits for this talk. I mean, it was great. I appreciate it.
thank you.
So,
Dito.
yeah. So, Mila, how can people reach out to you if they would like a reading from you?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on my website, moonlightsoul369.com. Also, social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, everything with the same handle, moonlightsoul369.com. And yeah, I will be running my birthday sale next week. So stay tuned and check out my website for more information. And how about you? Where can people find you?
Well, here at this YouTube channel, just email me in the description. I've left my email address. If you're interested in a short self-discovery call, just contact me and we can go through your chart progressions, get some talking in and figure out what exactly you're trying to be in this world, accomplish, bring into form. It's language for the unknown. So we're co-creating your inner language here. All right. Well, thanks for watching, listening, and being. And Mila, take care. And
Thank
we will
you.
talk
Until
again.
next time. Bye, everyone.